we're passionate in believing that this is an issue not so much of healthcare, not indeed of healthcare, but very much a matter of human rights. Now, I've been asked just to say, what's the purpose of today's conference? Well, as much as anything else, I think the purpose will emerge during the course of the proceedings, because where we go next will depend, I think, upon some of the ideas that are put forward by the contributors. But if there's any single purpose, I would say it's about networking.
Legalization of euthanasia is a long-term affair because it is such a sensitive issue. So what you need is patience and a prolonged debate. It takes time for people to get used to the idea that doctors are allowed to end actively the life of one of their patients. What Parliament said is we must first know the facts. We must know the incidence of euthanasia. How often does it happen? How does it happen? And under what conditions would doctors be willing to report their case of euthanasia or assisted suicide?
Society is based on a set of rules, and they do put limits on absolute autonomy. But if an individual decides that they wish to die, is that going to affect the social fabric? If someone attempts to commit suicide, they may fail. Should they be penalized for their attempt? I think anyone standing up to speak out against euthanasia now would be the person that would be viewed as someone not moving with the times and keeping up with what people want. So it's a question of autonomy and independence and freedom and respecting the rights of the individual and the patient.
Euthanasia for some people is a cardinal sin. For others, it is a dignified death. Whichever side of the fence you fall on, euthanasia or medically assisted dying is one of the few remaining taboos in modern politics. Euthanasia is by no means a modern concept. It comes from ancient Greek, meaning good death. It's had its defenders throughout the ages. It's only following the horror of Nazi eugenics in the last century that Europe's political establishment has, by and large, maintained a deafening silence about voluntary assisted deaths. We are here today at the hearing organised by my colleagues Marco Cappato and Chris Davis to break down those mental barriers and to open up that debate. Because Liberal Democrats believe it is worthy, indeed essential, for Europe to have such a debate.
Because we have a right to life. Death is a small part of life, and therefore we all have a real feeling that we have the right to choose the kind of death that we would want. Of course, there has to be the right framework for that death. I'm Belgian, and we have a strong legal framework here for that kind of death. But these are experiences from different countries which can provide us with opportunities to provide new spaces for freedom and establish new laws. And this is what I hope will happen in France after the tragic case that we have heard about.
This is not a national issue. It's a human issue. And you may remember that 2 years ago in the Netherlands, my country, unfortunately, my fellow countrymen voted against the European Constitution. And one of the reasons that many people gave when we entered into the debate was, well, we have very good legislation on assisted dying and euthanasia now, and we're very afraid that Brussels will take it away. This should remain national competence. And people very much feel that if they would leave it to Europe, that they would lose the rights that we have acquired. But I actually think that that is the wrong reflex. I think that we have every reason to be very confident that many people in Europe and indeed around the world are very interested in these rights.
On the 24th of January 2006, my mother, Dr. Anne Turner, committed suicide at Dignitas in Zurich. I and my brother and sister were with her when she died. My mother, a retired medical doctor, was diagnosed with progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP, in November 2004. On the day of my mother's diagnosis, she rang me, my brother and sister, to inform us, and in the same breath said, "And I'm going to commit suicide."
Suffering can be felt through these words. I crawled, I learnt to walk, to run, and then after a few years I went backwards. Someone with dystrophy in a wheelchair has the illusion of being paraplegic, but that's not true, because after a time you can't eat and breathe at the same time. But the less you eat, the less energy you have to breathe. The less energy you have to breathe, the less you eat. It's not cardiac massage or respiration which makes you live. It's not digestion which matters. These are mechanisms. But there's more to life than that. There is the brain, there is the soul, there is the mind. That's the most important thing.
Because of his state of health and his wish to die at home, the care would have to be given to him in Italy. I received an email asking me to come and consult with him at home. I went to Rome on the 17th of October 2006. He had relationships with his family and friends, and he signed a request for euthanasia to end his suffering. This was obviously difficult given his state of health. And so we went to Rome on the 20th of December 2006. In our luggage we had the treatment from euthanasia.
Life-prolonging measures, that's a topic that's been picked up on as such. Then we also have the problem with definitions. Santi summarised this very well, but I don't think it's got that much to do with the declaration as it stands anyway. Now, I'd suggest the following. We are not a formal body here. We don't represent anything in official terms. Now, if there's a consensus on the text that's been distributed, well, we have a mandate. The organisers of the conference, they could include the proposals in the text. And if there are any further proposals, we've just heard from Lord Joff, if there are any proposals regarding the wording of the document, then I would suggest the following. We could publish this first draft version of the declaration. We can wait a few days. The participants can have a chance to react and submit proposals.